Oh boy, how do I start this video? So yeah, unless you live under a rock or aren't in the OSC at all, you've definitely seen that just over a week ago, the Inanimate finale has released to the public. And yeah, let's just say that everyone went kinda crazy for it. Personally, I know tons of friends that have seen the finale and were left crying, coping, and most likely entered the 5 stages of grief. And even though I can see why, to me, I didn't really feel that much of anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely got a little sad over Meepat's death and PJ being canon. Oh yeah, PJ is canon, I nearly forgot about that, despite the entire OSC freaking out over it. So yeah, that was pretty cool, I guess. But back on the topic, the finale was actually pretty decent in my opinion. While I was reacting to it, you should totally watch the video I made, by the way. I noticed a lot of improvements compared to the previous 3 episodes, which is good, but I also just really don't like some of the decisions made here. And I plan to yap about this for a tiny bit, let's say. It's gonna be a while, trust me. And if you end up enjoying this video at all, please subscribe. We are super close to 3K, and if we hit that by 2025, I will turn my profile picture into this capybara. And now, on to the review. So before we actually review anything, let's first get the overall plot of this over 45-minute episode summarized so we can break it down in detail after this. This episode starts off with some kind of montage and some reanimations of the previous episodes while Mephone is walking with Steve Bobs. Steve Paul then tells him that he forgives him, but that there's gonna be a professionally run season 4 of Inanimate Insanity, please no, and if not, there were gonna be some consequences. After this, the Prime Shimmers come to the island, I think, looking for Fan, and instead, Steve Brock lures him in, but it would be for nothing as Mephone would betray him, and then Steve tries to murder Mephone.
You done with your little keynote speech yet?
And while all this was happening, we can see the contestants waking up to their new home instead of Mephone 4, where we can see that Box is alive? What? And we get to hear about her tragic backstory, I guess. Also, she can't swim, what an idiot. Then it cuts off to a clip of Meepat and the Ghostbusters jump-scaring Cobbs in his yap session, and they start fighting. How predictable. After this, the semi-dead contestants are reuniting and planning their escape out of Mephone 4 through this so-called impossible race. Keep that name in mind, but who cares about that when PJ is Oh, and they also plan to take out Mephone's egg powers when they get out for the Shimmers, I guess. Anyways, more fighting goes on, yada yada yada, and then when Steve Heffrey is finally about to kill Mephone 4, you wanna know what happens? He dies? No, Meepat sacrifices himself for them, because of course he does. It's the goddamn finale. Oh hey, on a brighter note, everyone finishes a previously impossible race that no one has completed before. Oh, did I say everyone? Sorry, I meant everyone except Marshmallow's fat ass. And I mean that because instead of actually trying her best and running, all this bitch does is sit there doing jack shit. But then the knife gay ass decides to be the hero of the story and takes her Gyat to the finish line while Knife, to be continued, I guess. Whatever. Now, as Steve Minecraft is about to finish Mephone for good, he gets the notification to bring back all of the contestants for an epic final showdown. Let's begin. Steve Cabs plays Intimidate Balloon and takes the egg's soul out of suitcase. Mephone in the gameplay, blow the living out of the core man. Mephone. So yeah, after that, the contestants are happy and all that Stevie is dead and that Suitcase wins, but then they find out what happened to Meepat and Knife. Who's a ghost now? Wowzers. No, not Meepat. And then the Spoiled Lover reunite for one final song to wrap up the series, and it's a remaster of all the songs for Inanimate Insanity along with some other lyrics. And aside from one final knife case scene right after the song ends, that's what you missed on Inanimate Insanity for the last time. Damn. Okay, let's get actually reviewing. Now, we're going to start off simple with the voice acting. In my personal opinion, it's still pretty good. All of the characters have pretty good voice actors and they're pretty recognizable across the community and just fit their characters in general. For example, Tissues. Now, I'm not gonna yap about the same thing over and over again, but there are some different things to talk about when it comes to this episode's voice acting. First off, we have Box. Now, before this, she obviously didn't have a voice or any lines in the show ever, but now that she's alive, I guess I could say something about her voice. Not much though, it's pretty nice, but we haven't seen her enough to determine her personality, so we can't really say if her voice fits her personality or not. All we got was Box being pretty shy in her interview with MiPhone 4, and to that, she could maybe have gotten a high-pitched female voice, but now that I think about it, that sounds kind of weird. Oh, I know I'm on the topic of Box. I gotta say that I saw a tweet of Box getting shipped with Taco with a little drawing of them holding hands. Since then, I've lost the tweet, but whoever finds it for me and links it to me gets pinned. So go wild, chat. Secondly, I have got to talk about Forrest's voice, okay? Watching this episode with his voice made the episode way funnier than it should have been. Like, honestly, I'm so glad that Forrest wasn't given a deep, creepy voice, because then we wouldn't get clips like,
I wouldn't be surprised to learn he ripped off its personal style too. It's infuriating.
And yeah, I have no idea how Brian can do such a perfect voice like that, but I respect the hell out of it. If I ever get the chance to get this guy to voice act for my object show, I'm definitely making him do the Forrest voice. And hey, if you want to give me the chance in the first place, then subscribe. This is not going to be the last thing I'm going to ask you, so you might as well just do it right now while you're at it. And lastly, let's talk about the song. Since you're still on the voice acting category though, I'm not going to go into the lyrics of the song, but I am going to talk about the vocals. And yeah, the voices in this are amazing. Literally every character did a great job at doing their part, except maybe Libel and Paintbrush at first, but after giving it some rewatch, I've kind of warmed up to it. However, there are two specific characters that stood out to me, Taco and Guava. Now, Taco is pretty obvious. Her stupid little British voice already cooked in Taco's tirade, and she's still just as good now. Like, seriously, how is she this good at singing? She must have got some OP genes on her or something. And secondly, Guava. Now, this one definitely shocked me when I heard her sing, but if the objective was to hire a female rock star to voice her, then the Animation Epic team did it spectacularly. Guava's voice literally fits her perfectly, and her singing skills didn't disappoint. So overall, great voice acting this episode. 10 out of 10, you get a sticker. Damn, that took a minute or 3. But yeah, let's get talking about the animation and visuals. Wait for it. There we go, you'll have to see it. Now, here's a fun little story for you. When I first saw the trailer for this episode that announced the release date, the first thing I realized was that the animation for the few scenes that were shown weren't that great in my opinion. So going off of that, when the episode finally released, I was expecting the animation to be subpar at best. But to my surprise, the animation for the entire episode felt better than it ever was before. Okay, maybe not to the level of pre-season 3 Inanimate Insanity, but it was still genuinely surprising to see how good the animation was at first glance. And yeah, for being animated in less than 2 months at best, it was somehow better than the past 3 episodes, and the finale was even longer than all of them. And for the final part of this review, let's get talking about the writing / plot. Now, instead of saying the things I liked and didn't like in that order, why not just say my thoughts from the beginning of the episode to the end? That's right, we're covering every single scene of this episode, so buckle your pants and get ready. The first thing we see in this episode is a little trip down memory lane, as they call it, which shows all of the memories and moments of the series along with some lore drops. To me, this scene felt kind of off. I mean, sure, after getting a harsh reality check from Stevie Wonder, revisiting the good times you had makes sense, but I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me for some reason, as I kind of think it was just there to make the episode longer. So we haven't got to the strongest star, but that's okay, we still have 45 minutes to go. Then we have Steve Huang comforting and then threatening him, albeit in a lighter tone, as the Prime Shimmers arrive to the island. Now at first, I didn't really get why the Prime Shimmers were even there or why the hell the base felt so much smaller than usual, and one of those things surely made sense.
I'll show you.
Run.
Sorry?
He'll kill you. Get out of here. Run! Run!
And then we have Steve Brawls actually threatening Mifo as he punches them into the ground. For my thoughts on these scenes, I actually really liked them. Sure, it didn't make much sense at first, but this is a good way of getting the episode going, and for what it tries to do, it does it well. So yeah, good shit. Oh wait, I almost forgot. In between all of this, we can see some of the contestants walking up in Mifone's... Wait, walking up? Walking up? What the fuck? We can see some of the contestants waking up in Mifone's head and a brief clip of Suke's underwater with Box, which then turned out to be the actual person. So yeah, then Box and Suke chat for a bit and Box walks her over to the Epic Center. And yeah, same as I said before, a good way to get the episode going, but I think that adding a glitched out version of Springy in the middle of this was a bit unnecessary. Oh, and also Bugs being alive is rare in my opinion. I'm not gonna say too much about this one. Next up, we have Bugs' Object Universe backstory, which definitely makes sense for the most part, while also making some very subtle references to some past episodes of Inanimate Insanity. And yeah, this story was just a lore drop. This story makes sense for the most part. The only part that didn't make sense to me was that there were so many people waiting in line that we only see here and nowhere else. Because the only other time we saw the contestants waiting in line for the interviews was at the first montage, where we only saw contestants that we already seen before. So I think that replacing all of these people with already existing contestants would make sense, because it would still fit in the context of Box not really knowing anyone there. After that, we have the MePhone 4S hand appearing again, though they only have 2 lines, so that's a bit sad. Steve Griffin continues the fight, and then, oh boy, the Avengers assembled. I mean, yeah, okay, I guess we all knew that was gonna happen, so whatever. And I do like the hand coming back again, even if it was only for a short bit. I highly doubt that it would have been much better if they kept giving him lines, so we'll let this slide. Now we have Knife and MePhone 4S having a little chat while discovering that the picnic table can make weapons if you say the right things. And then they bust down the Purgatory Mansion doors for some reason. Look, I'm sorry, but this scene is just completely filler. Like, nothing happened this episode. After this, Knife and MePhone 4S never talk again, and the Purgatory Mansion doesn't show up anymore. Inside of MePhone, that is. So literally, what does it need to happen? Okay, now we're getting spicy. Next scene is Box showing Suitcase the seemingly only way to get out of there, where we see some of the failed episode 5 debuters attempting and failing to complete the race, followed by even more filler compensation. But for the impossible race concept is a pretty simple idea, but the voices and images that get you to ultimately fair are pretty cool. But from there, the conversations between them and later Balloon and Fan are mostly filler, maybe except Fan finding out that he's not a real fan, but whatever at this point. After this, Box and later Suitcase are playing around with this whole Me Life relocation thing, I guess. But we get to see some of the Inanimate Insanity's most iconic duos, and a brief moment where Page 8 is revealed to be canon. Oh yeah, did I ever say that Page 8 was canon? I'm sure I haven't seen that before. No. And then we have Suitcase venting to everyone and later telling them the way to get out, along with them realizing something from above. Then it cuts to the fighting again, where we get to see some more dialogue exchange and both saving Ghost's life. Okay, this is getting a bit better, the episode's getting more intense, and there's also less filler. Yeah, let's keep going like this, honestly. The contestants realized that it was in fact the egg that was there, and yes, Fan's theory was in fact correct, which he himself acknowledges. Then they ask MePhone if they can take it out. He agrees, but Cobbs ends up overhearing them while fighting MePad. They quickly start the race after that, while Steve Jobs is about to kill MePhone 4, but MePad ends up sacrificing himself. This is good. I mean, not the MePad dying, of course, that's obviously very tragic, but the episode is getting more intense without the plot getting stupid. The characters doing their race get their images, and okay, maybe MePhone could have just dodged Stacy's sword, but it just gets the job done, I guess. So let's continue. Surely nothing so stupid can ruin the moment. Marshmallow, stand up. Yo, do something, you little... Why are you saving her? Why? Yeah, this scene wasn't the greatest. Look, I know that this scene still ends up intensifying the episode, but the way they do it is just so stupid. First of all, Marshmallow, if you don't want to try, then can you just say, you know? And if you are trying, then stop sitting there like an idiot and start running. Like, seriously, you're telling me that everyone could do the race with little to no issues, including Cabby. Wait, how did Cabby complete the race wait, what? Okay, besides the point. But suddenly, when Knife is about to finish it, Marshmallow is just there like a little bitch, indirectly begging her bully to save her for fictional character development. I only feel as if this scene was just made to say, here guys, look at Knife saving Marshmallow, look at how much she's changed. Survival of the fittest, maid, you must do what is needed to survive. And I better not hear anyone say, but Andy, what about the MePad scene? MePhone could have easily just ran away like you said. Okay, first off, that wasn't nearly as idiotic as this scene. And 2, every movie can get at least one stupid sacrifice / emotional scene to get the audience weeping. But 2 is already enough. enough. And the fact that there was 2 minutes after Meatpad's sacrifice makes this one of the single stupidest, pathetic, worst scenes in OST history. And there is nothing that can okay, maybe one thip. Look, I'll just be honest here. I'm getting tired of this. So far, I've written over 3,000 words in this document alone, which is more than any other video I've scripted ever, and I just want to be done with this already. And if you're still here, then I'd appreciate your subscription to my channel. This is like the second to last time, I promise. And let's get this shit over with, I guess. After that abomination, we have Steve Buck still intimidating Miphone under he revives all of the contestants, and because Steve knows that they were gonna take the egg out of Miphone 4, he grabs it off a suitcase thinking that it was the real thing, when actually it was just a ticking bomb that exploded on Steve's face, or body. And because Suitcase killed him, she wins the season 2. And that's pretty much it for the episode, except for the song, which we'll talk in a bit. But honestly, even if it was just a tiny bit anticlimactic, I honestly do find it clever that they used the picnic table to kill cops, even if it meant making even more references into the same episode. But at least that made the scene with Knife and Meatful Forest in it a little bit more important. And the scene itself was executed fantastically too, with Steve Cleveland's popcorn flying all over the place. So I kinda like this. And now for the final important thing about this episode is the song at the end. It's a simple yet good idea, and it was executed as well as it could have. What I mean by that is that for being a mashup for all of the old songs in the history of Inanimate Insanity, I don't see the song's lyrics being any better than this. And even if they tried, it could have felt less of a mashup and more of just a song taking inspiration of other songs. So yeah, simple idea with good execution at the right time, a good way to conclude the series. Oh, and before I get to ending the video, some quick things I'd like to say. Firstly, I feel like I'm the only person to get a reference to Apple saying, "How could you forget it?" Because that's the line of the old Inanimate Insanity auditions back in 2014, where Apple says the same line.
What? How could you forget it?
Next, I'm still pissed off by the fact that Bud didn't make a cameo this episode. It's said that it was like this, and I'll spoil anyone who was watching the entirety of Season 2 without watching Season 3 in between, but I'm gonna be completely honest here, this is just complete and utter bullshit, because it is made explicitly clear that Season 3 happened in between all of this, and if that wasn't clear enough, you can see multiple characters only from Season 3 throughout the last 3 episodes of the show, so why on earth does Bud have to be an exception? It just doesn't make sense in my opinion. Thirdly, and on the topic of Season 3, I find it pretty weird that Walkie Talkie and Ballpoint Pen just appear for a brief moment in Miphone's head, and then never even appeared again. It's moments like these where it's pretty obvious that the writer, Brian, just added this to make the episode just a bit longer, and it also makes my previous point even clearer. And lastly, I feel like a lot of stuff was reused in this episode alone. I mean, some of the ideas like the picnic table, phrases like funny, I could say the same thing about all of us. And just everything in general was just kind of recycled, I guess. I don't know how to feel about this, so I'll just leave this in as a neutral opinion. And that's it. Those are my full unhinged thoughts about the final episode of Inanimate Insanity ever. Man, I'm gonna miss this show a lot. And if anyone from Inanimate Insanity is watching this, first of all, I'm sorry if I might have come out as a bit harsh at times, but I still deeply enjoy the series. It's one of my favorite object shows ever made. And thank you for everything. Thank you all for watching, and see you in another video. Peace out.